Hello everybody. Welcome to this series of podcasts by Vajiram Ravi. This is Pooja Singh. And today we are going to discuss that what should be a strategy for mains when you have mathematics as your optional subject. And for that, we have our esteemed faculty member with us today, Bhavna Khurana ma'am. Ma'am, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you so much for joining us today. She holds 22 years of teaching experience in this field and she has masters from IIT Delhi. Yes, that is amazing, right? Ma'am, first of all, I would like to ask about what should be the strategy for mains. For example, like only few months are left, right? What should be the strategy for mains when you have mathematics optional for like coming months?
Right. So, Pooja, the main reason why we're here together is to actually guide the students to have a clarity and have a clear strategy about their preparation. Because, like you said, time is going to fly by. It's going to be very soon the time for writing the mains. Now, the thing is, there is so much information on the internet. Students tend to read blogs and go to the toppers and this institute, that institute. So, this is also a time when they can be very confused. Now, the strategy has to be very clear and simple, because if you run after new things in the coming a few months, then even what is very fixed in terms of what can come in the exam, a student ends up not even doing that basics. So I've had experience of dealing with the students who after their mains come and tell me about what their performance has been like, and it's heartbreaking to see that so many students are not able to do even the fixed basic questions that come in the exam. And why is that? Because all that time that was given to them, they were confused, they were nervous, and in that anxiety, they ran after new topics. They tried to do everything under the sun instead of focusing on the core fundamentals.
True.
So it's very heartbreaking, and it's like a golden chance that has been given to you once you clear the prelims. Imagine lakhs of students from there, only these. Now, if you waste that chance, you honestly may not even get it again, because there's no guarantee, right, that next year prelims you'll be able to clear.
Definitely.
So I want students who are clearing the prelims this year with mathematics as their optional to have a very clear strategy and to utilize the opportunity that has been presented to them with their hard work, but they have to maximize this time and they have to maximize their potential.
Definitely, the strategy should be judicial at this moment.
Yes.
Ma'am, one more thing, like when we cover the syllabus, what should be the strategy? Like which topics should be covered like first? What
Right.
should be a like series to cover it?
Right. So for this, I would like to again clarify. For a lot of times, I've told my students, but I'll tell it again, and it is that now the trend is like that you can't leave any topic. So out of the 13 topics earlier, a few years ago, it was possible to maybe not do one topic fully and all. Now there is no scope for doing that, because they give the questions in a mixed format. So they have to do all the topics.
Okay.
And before the mains arrive, they have to be able to do at least 2 revisions of the entire syllabus.
Okay.
These 2 revisions, the first revision should have started already, but if not starting today, they should do topic-wise preparation, the topics that go hand in gloves with each other. Means they should not concentrate on paper 1 fully or paper 2, because if you do only paper 1 now and then paper 2 later, there's no time to come back to paper 1, and then your preparation in both the papers is going to be lopsided. You have to prepare both the papers in the same level.
Okay.
So they should pick up algebra from both the papers and study them together.
Okay.
They should then pick up ordinary differential equations and partial differential equations. They're separate papers, the topics in separate papers, do it together. Because you have to also remember that this exam is going to be 2 papers in one single day, in the morning and in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be gap to revise that. So first you must do them together. Then real analysis and calculus. So this is 6 topics. Then they could do the physics topics from paper 1 and paper 2. That covers 8. The total 13. The remaining topics, actually, there's no specific order. But of course, geometry and vector analysis can be done together. And complex analysis, it's independent, but complex analysis, numerical analysis, and linear programming can be clubbed together. So this way, what happens is that they are able to appreciate the fine nuances of each combination, and one thorough revision also happens. After that, what they have to do is go to the sections. So they can go to paper 1, section A, prepare it fully. They've already done topic-wise preparation. Now they learn how to do it together. Okay. So they can do linear algebra, calculus, and geometry. Then they can go to, say, paper 1, section B. Similarly, paper 2, section A, and then paper 2, section B.
Okay.
And after that is done, they must practice to write both the papers on a single day, in the morning and in the afternoon, the way it's going to actually happen in the exam.
Okay.
Because there has to be clarity between the differences between the two papers. So I think full length tests should be written towards the end, and there should be 2 tests written in one single day to
Okay.
stimulate the actual environment that is going to be when they are writing the exam.
So basically, you have to relate and integrate the topics within the whole syllabus.
Yes.
And like smartly prepare for it.
Yes, absolutely. There is only smart preparation that will work right
True.
now. And one thing again, I would like to accentuate that you should not at this time try to do anything new. Whatever you have done, whichever notes you've prepared from, you please study from that only. Even that is going to be next to impossible unless you try and learn how to categorize the problems. And please concentrate only on those questions which have there's a cyclic presence of them. So for example, linear transformation, every year a question has to come. Simplex method, every year there has to be a question on it. But once in a while, the questions that have come, they are basically aberrations. If you run after them, then even your core fundamentals are not taken care of. So like I said earlier, it is very painful to see that the questions which are simple and that they're considered simple by the entire majority except for this 10% of the students who are actually very good students, but in this final journey they've not paid attention to those topics. So don't do that.
Okay.
Don't run after those once in a while kind of questions or aberrations or possibilities. Please remember, it's a static syllabus. The syllabus is whatever it is. I wouldn't call it small, I wouldn't call it huge. Whatever it is, and there is a pattern to the paper. So someone has to help you identify which questions are the most important ones, how to categorize them, and how to master them. So remember, maths is that optional where you can get full marks.
True.
So instead of in every question trying to get a 6 or a 7, if there is step marking, that is, instead of that, try and get a 10 on 10 or 15 on 15 or 20 on 20 in a majority of the questions. So this way, even if 1 or 2 questions you don't know, it's not going to really matter. That is what the strategy should be.
Ma'am, when we are talking about not starting any or not taking any new topic, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, definitely the strategy is like totally clear that why it should not be done. But what is how should we conquer that feeling of FOMO, that Gen Z word, like fear of missing out? At this moment, how should we conquer that?
So the thing is, you have to be very, you have to be mentally strong. You have to be very, very clear, and you of course have to take guidance from, say, one source, and there has to be consistency in what you do. You cannot listen to one person and then another person and then another and then do everything that, because everyone has a individual strategy that works. And you have to also see it's easier for me to, for example, from here say you should study 12 hours maths, but there are other things you have to also study. It's not just the optional. You're preparing for GS mains, you're preparing for your essay and so on and so forth. And so you have to remember that there is not enough time. So to answer your question, honestly speaking, I think it requires clarity from a student's perspective. And this is not the time to be underconfident. Of course, overconfidence is even worse, but this is also not a time to be underconfident. You have to believe in a good student would have gone through a math syllabus at least once or twice by now. So it's only on that, build upon that. So the main building, for example, is already there, and you're just sort of beautifying that particular thing. There's no time to break down the building and make another building from the scratch. You try that, you'll be able to only break it, not make it. So whatever is your preparation level, you can only enhance that and plaster the places where there is missing. So fill in the blanks has to be done in your preparation, but everything from the scratch, or anything rather from the scratch, there is no time and scope for doing that.
True.
Yeah.
Ma'am, what should be the main components when we have mathematics as an optional? What should be
Right.
the main components that should be kept in mind while we are preparing?
So there has to be a difference between how a person prepares maths for the first time as compared to how he or she is going to prepare now when a very important leg of this exam is around the corner. So usually, Pooja, I tell people that, of course, you can't read maths. For example, these booklets, even though they're well written and everything, but you can't go through maths.
Yeah.
For maths, the bare minimum requirement is having a pen and paper so that you're writing. Never read. That is for people who are preparing maths. But now with 3 months left, there'll be a time when only 10 days are left to the exam. There's a time when there's only that one final gap. How much can they also write? So the main component is trying to identify the category of questions. Say you have 10 questions of each category ready. One question out of them you write down, and then you, here at this level, go through the remaining questions, you know, and see what is different about this question compared to the question you have attempted, and how is it different and how is it similar.
Okay.
So you have to learn how to appreciate the similarities and differences between the questions that can come in the exam. So the main component, like I said, is yes, definitely they have to practice, but more than practicing, it is a time to categorizing the problems and recognizing that if this kind of a question comes in the exam, then they should have rehearsed it so well that it's a part of their muscle memory. See, exam doesn't give you a time to even think, leave alone figure it out. Some of the questions you may be able to do that. That's only if your entire 2.5 hours or something has gone very well. Out of a 3-hour window, if 2.5 hours the student is sitting and doing most of the questions and confident and all, last half an hour, then there is a scope that he'll be able to figure out a question which initially had foxed him or her. But if your entire paper has been, let me do this, let me leave this, and if you've, then even the questions you actually know, you will not be able to reproduce. So your preparation also has to be like that. The majority of the preparation has to be in terms of categorizing the problems that are important from exam point of view, knowing the basics, working on the presentation as well as accuracy, and then only run after what are the extra things that one can do. So this is not really a time to do too many extra things. Only focus your energy on what you've already built upon on.
Right.
Yeah.
Ma'am, how should one maximize their potential, right? When we have such a great scoring subject as mathematics optional, right? How can one maximize their potential to score in the exam?
Okay, Pooja, here again, I would like to tell you, since I deal with people who are from the foundation batches also, see, they are brand new, they have no idea. So when they come here, I usually tell them in the beginning that you are here to identify. In fact, in any field, one is supposed to identify one's strengths as well as weaknesses. It's very important. At least we as individuals should be aware of what is my strength, what is my weakness. When they come for the foundation batch, they are here, I tell them, to work on their weaknesses also. Strong areas, they'll become stronger. But they have to work on their weaknesses. So if a student comes to me and says, for example, ma'am, I don't know modern algebra, then I don't tell them leave it or something. I tell them, okay, we'll work on it. Let's see how far. And then there is revision and there is... So in foundation course, a student has to work on their strengths for sure, as well as weaknesses. However, when this window comes, 2.5, 3 months and so much to do, and there's an added pressure and all that, then a student needs to focus on 100% on the strong areas and pay attention to the weak areas, but knowing that this is my weak area. So when in the exam there is a choice between the questions, this demarcation of strengths and weaknesses will play a very important role. Okay. So as you know, Pooja, there's a choice in the paper. The choice is external. Like if you do question number 2, then you have to do all parts of question number 2. If you do question number 3, then you have to do all parts of question number 3. Most of the times I find students are so confused, they themselves don't know what they are good at or what is the question they should have attempted. So I tell them that this time, please kindly work on your strengths. You've already identified your weaknesses, I hope. If not, you should have someone help identify the weaknesses and work only on the core areas of the weaknesses. So let me simplify that. If these are all the topics, okay, your strong areas you should study as much as you can, like make them so foolproof that no matter what comes from that topic, you should be able to do it. If these are your weak areas, you have to do them, but maybe not take it up to that level. Maybe just do it till on the surface. You know, you don't have to really go into the depth of it and deep dive into every type of question. So strong areas, you have to do 100%. So out of 13, if someone says 4-5 areas which are my strong areas, then you should have a level of preparation which is no matter what they ask, I should be able to do it. In the weak areas, your preparation can range from about 60% to 80-85%. So the questions that have come in the exam, the basics that are expected, those questions you should fully do, but then don't run after each and every kind of question in those areas. That is how your preparation should be.
True. As paper is like UPSC, you have unpredicted papers,
Yes.
right? So you can't leave anything
Right.
behind. And when we talk about having the strong areas or weak areas, at least in the weak areas, the question should not be in absolute jargon when you see the paper, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the point is, if someone tells me, for example, my say ordinary differential equation is very strong, but that year in the exam OD has come out to be very tough, so you can't just focus on strong areas also. However, generally a paper is pretty balanced. There are one or two questions one needs to have the clarity and the confidence to identify that this question is difficult for everybody who's attempting the paper. But what are your strengths? Have the questions come from those areas, and if someone helps you correctly identify it, you know, so then there has to be a representation of that topic in the exam, and that is where your most of the marks will come from.
True.
So a very simple analogy I would give is that if suppose someone wants to get an 80%, there are two ways of getting an 80%. You attempt the paper fully, 100 on 100, but you do 20 marks wrong. So you'll get 80. Other is, if you want to get an 80%, attempt only for 80% and get 80 out of 80. So that's 80 out of 100. Because this leaves the choice with you. This gives you more time to work on areas that are strong in the exam. You're writing questions knowing that maybe one or two parts of the questions I don't know. And that is absolutely okay. You're not supposed to know the entire paper. 10 marks, 15 marks, even up to 20 marks. If you don't know, that is all right. You should not get nervous because of that. It's a competition exam. Any competition exam I have given in my life, I didn't know the entire paper.
Yeah.
Whether it was NET or JAM, or you're not supposed to know. A competition exam is framed like that.
Exactly.
It is not a college exam. So get a 80% by attempting only 80%. But do it so well that the examiner is forced to give you marks.
True.
Rather than do 100% and then make so many mistakes here and there that you may not even get what you desire. You know, and it gives a wrong impression. If you write something nonsensical in the paper, it can go against the candidate also. So it's better to leave it. It's okay. But the remaining ones, then you have to get accurate answers. The presentation has to be well. And like I said, some questions are so obviously coming in the exam that they should be a part of your muscle memory, at least the opening, and you should know most of the steps. Of course, the working out a student will have to do, but a lot of it is going to be reproducing, not really thinking. Right?
Okay. Is the test series useful? If it is, like, how exactly should we practice through test series?
So Pooja, I'll be very candid. The test series, there is one purely a test series where you write, you get a detailed evaluation, you get model solutions. But then, like, because I said this journey is something where you need someone to do the hand holding. You need two people to sort of walk together in this journey. So after one or two tests, people start losing steam and they are lost. And so instead of just a test series, what we're doing here at Vajiram and Ravi this year is relaunching our crash course.
Okay.
And crash course come test series. It's more like a revision module. So what you have to do is someone has to, so that a separate set of handouts is being prepared. So if my booklets are, for example, 150 pages, I'm making it smaller and smaller and making, say, kind of short notes out of it for about 15 pages. But they're not just from the booklet. They are from this. The questions can be from anywhere, like the PYQs and the level that comes in the exam. It becomes like a worksheet or a practice sheet together with all the short notes written there. So that is the go-to sheet for a student when the final revision is happening. And it'll have, very interestingly, I've also categorized the question. So type 1, type 2, type 3. So, and every type has a heading. So, you know, you remember just the heading and you know, oh, these are the variety of questions out of which this one has come in the exam, how to now present it. So basically, the level of empathy that has gone into making the crash course is that if I was giving the exam and if I needed help hand-holding, then exactly what kind of a stuff is what I'm looking for. So it's really something that's going to work for the students. And so there'll be, in the test series that we're having here, there are 20 to 25 classes happening for each topic. 2 to 3 classes per topic, which will help them bring it together. What kind of questions come, what are the concepts, what are the theorems, more importantly, that should be done or that should not be done from a particular chapter. Then there'll be mini tests, which are, say, both the algebras put together test, then both the differential equations put together test. Then there'll be sectional tests, so that one ends up mastering the sections, and then full course tests. Detailed evaluation will be done, model answers will be given, discussions will happen, and there'll be individual focus on strategizing. So I'll also help students to identify what their core areas is. It is not one size fits it all kind of a thing. So that's why I'm also keeping limited seats, because there is so much that I can do, so if I have to give it individual attention, so the limited seats, so that there's a core group on which we sort of walk together with the students.
You are personally going to be involved in this crash course
Yes.
test series, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How would be your presence there for the students who are going to enroll?
So the classes will be taken by me, the discussions will be taken by me. I'll also have a 101 sessions with all the students to help understand what their weak areas is. And it's not like, honestly, we are not here to praise the students. So if someone says that I don't know this, and this, then I have to honestly tell them that you can't leave out all that. You have to somehow get your focus back. Yet at the same time, this is also a time when a student needs to be grounded and centered. So what I'll actually help to see is show them the mirror, that this is what your preparation looks like.
True.
This is what is required. How can we bridge the gap? The gap, Pooja, student only has to bridge. But I can give them the building blocks. So I can help them with what areas they are struggling with. We can give them material, the handouts, the booklets, the actual teaching of that topic. If there is a core topic which a student is not understanding. And I see that if you tell them the course and if you tell them what else can there be done, then they'll be able to do it and then come back. So there is a personal attention that's being given. There is a feedback kind of a mechanism. So if they write, I look at it, I give my feedback on it, and then I ask them to do it again. So it's not about 6 tests or 8 tests or 10 tests. These tests have to be also rewritten, and so there is a feedback mechanism, so I hope by focusing on the core areas, by focusing on answer writing, by focusing on what is the demand of this exam and what is the examiner expecting, we'll be able to enhance their preparation by quite a few marks. And optional, as we all know, is a make or break. So getting a 300 plus in maths is also very possible, plausible, feasible. We just need a little bit of sort of attention to how. So to how to make examiner fall in love with your answer sheet. Like, he's forced to give you marks. So don't make it so difficult for him. Don't write that arrow, don't do this, what are the things he's looking for? Because see, it's a 3-hour paper. How much time do you think an examiner spends on your sheet while checking? I don't know, 45 minutes, 1 hour. He's not going to spend 3 hours. And in fact, the lesser time he spends on it, the more marks he'll give you, because then he can read everything clearly, clarity. There are some, when I'm as an examiner checking a sheet somewhere, then I look for, has he written this, has the student written this and all. If all that is done, then where is the scope to not give marks?
True.
So it's a very objective paper with which the answers of which have to be written very creatively. And how does creativity come into picture is how I'm also going to help write them, that if you rephrase it, if you'd written it like this, if instead of this, then do you think it will be better? And most of the times, Pooja, students only agree that yes, this is looking better than this. So, when they write one question once more for me after my feedback, they themselves can see that if they were a teacher tomorrow, then how many marks will they give in this question and how many marks in this question? So this helps them. So they're not going to check sheets for somebody else, but if they know why they're giving, say, 10 on 10 in one question and why 5 on 10 on the other, then this helps them make their preparation, their answer writing much better.
Definitely, ma'am. These features are definitely to boast about, I
Yeah.
would say. But when we talk about Vajiram's crash course come test series, ma'am, definitely students are going to enroll when we have all this guidance, hand holding throughout this whole journey. Ma'am, what should be the last, like, few lines? What would be the advice for the students who are going to prepare for the mains, who are going to give the exam?
Okay, so honestly, Pooja, they would have already in the last 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks ago, we had the
Hmm.
prelims.
Hmm.
They would have, got all their notes together, looked at their basic fundamentals. 2-3 days after the prelims, they must have started doing all that. But now is the time to deep dive into this ocean of maths. And
Definitely.
my sincere advice is, please do not waste this time. It's an opportunity that you've earned, but
Hmm.
it's also something that you have to maximize. So uh, I want to see the best of each student coming out.
Hmm.
We cannot guarantee anything, because if a person has not prepared, then he needs a lot of work to be done. But most of the times that is not the case. Students are pretty serious, especially
Hmm.
with maths optional. I've not had this problem, but they're very hardworking, they've prepared, but they're lost, they're confused. My purpose here is to clear out the path for them,
Hmm.
but they'll have to walk themselves.
True.
I can only show them the light. So my work is like the torch bearer. So someone
True.
shining on them.
Hmm.
How are you doing? What is
Hmm.
it that you need to do for this?
Hmm.
And for everything else that they might require help in terms of booklets or handouts or anything else, I'm right here to guide their way. Yeah.
Definitely. When you'll be there, you'll be telling them what went wrong in the paper, right? What
Exactly.
you're writing, what are the strong areas that are your shining armor, right?
Exactly.
So definitely the hand holding is going to be there, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
this is what you are going to get in our crash course come test series, right? We make sure that we'll be there through this whole journey. Make sure you enroll. And for, like, today, this is the discussion. Ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all the advice, all the, like, strategy, like, you shared with the students. Okay, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
so
us, ma'am.
much, Pooja. Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll be back with such amazing sessions again and again. Till then, you just have to do one thing, and that is keep studying. All the very best.